My name is Waleed Dieter, and I'm a first-year student at the University of Denver. I'm studying anthropology and international studies.
So my name is Netta, and I am a Colorado local as well as a Muslim.
Hi, my name is Sammy Helgeson, and I am a public achievement coach at the University of Denver.
Hi, my name is Isma.
Yeah, my name is Ashley Ettinger. I'm a Colorado resident, and I work with high school students doing community organizing.
What does Islamophobia mean to you?
So to me, Islamophobia is a societal phenomenon that's spread across the world. To me, it's a huge problem, and a phenomena where there's stereotypes and misconceptions about a particular community based on their religion.
Good question. I think Islamophobia to me, I think of it as not knowing, right? And I think of people when they don't know something, they tend to fear it. And so Islamophobia to me is like, I guess, a hint of people not knowing what Islam is and therefore really exercising their fears in terrible ways because they're really inclined by that fear.
Well, Islamophobia to me is just an ignorance of what Islam really is, and it's just a lot of confusion and hatred directed at a group of people for a reason that they don't even understand.
So I think Islamophobia is really tied to misconception and perceptions that have been built over time. So I think that Islamophobia has kind of become this thing that has progressively gotten worse because people have a perception of what Islam is and then they don't go out to find what the truth or to question their beliefs or anything, so it just kind of gets passed down from generation to generation. So it's kind of like any other form of discrimination. It just kind of continues until somebody decides, well, maybe I should look into this before I have or before I continue my preconceived thoughts.
To me, Islamophobia goes hand in hand with xenophobia. To me, it's fear of the unknown. And we see a lot of that in society today where people don't know about what Islam is. So there's this misconception in which people are stereotyped and they're associated with things that are not necessarily accurate.
Have you ever been a victim of Islamophobia? I definitely have. Yeah, I think the earliest memory that I have was in 8th grade when, to make a long story short, a friend of mine was interested in this dude and therefore wanted me to know them. And so we started talking, and as soon as he found out that I was a person of color, just started going off about people of color. He started with Latinos, and then he went to Black and African American folk, and then eventually went to Arabs, and then just had a heyday. And as soon as I definitely stood up earlier on, he just continued to call me a terrorist and continued saying that 9/11 was my fault and that my Islam is from the devil and all of this stuff. That was definitely a product of Islamophobia. And that was again in 8th grade. That was the first time. And then since then it's been definitely prevalent in my life, especially when I'm out with my mom, because she wears a hijab. Obviously I don't. But I think definitely when I'm out with my mom, there's been a lot of instances where we have experienced Islamophobia.
Yes, for sure. I mean, I'm a woman that wears hijab, so I'm very obviously Muslim. If I'm walking down the street, like, you know that I'm Muslim. There's nothing about me that says, oh, like, she could be something else, because like the hijab is basically the textbook version of what it means to be a Muslim and like what identifies a Muslim. And so, you know, people just kind of feel free to say whatever to me in terms of like just being rude or getting really like up in my face or like, you know, like just things like that. In terms of like specific instances, like sometimes it's really simple. Like I was walking downtown one day with a friend, and this guy like stopped me in the street and he spit in my face and he called me a Muslim pig. To things like really serious, like I was on the light rail once and this guy got up, like he like took off his shirt and he was like getting ready to fight somebody, just yelling about how we were, you know, coming into the country and we were infiltrating everybody and how Muslims are going to destroy the world and how like he was going to bomb Muslims for Jesus. I don't know, he was getting a little crazy. But Yeah, so I mean, yes, I've had those experiences, but I definitely think that being in Colorado is a good thing because Colorado generally doesn't have as many instances as some other places in the United States. There are just so many different types of people here that I think it makes it just a little bit easier.
Yes, sometimes directly, sometimes indirectly. There's a lot of people who have judged me in the past because of my religion, and I've had preconceptions and prejudice about me and my personality and the way that I would behave to certain actions depending on my religion, and I consider that Islamophobia. And some people have offended me based on that religion indirectly, and I also categorize that as Islamophobia. Everything that falls into the category of misconception and fear of people based on their beliefs, especially Islamic beliefs, to me falls into that.
Have you ever witnessed a victim of Islamophobia?
I have witnessed Islamophobia a lot in my daily life. In January, when Trump announced his Muslim ban, I actually went to the protest at Denver International Airport, and that was kind of a pushback against the policy that was like, let's keep these folks from Muslim majority countries out of the U.S. It was awesome to see a lot of solidarity with folks, but again, in the media you often see these stories about people getting like physically assaulted, or just in daily interactions I have a lot of friends who identify as Muslim, and just seeing how people treat them, assuming they're a terrorist. There was this one kid at my high school that everybody would always joke about him being a terrorist, which definitely impacted his ability to, do like schoolwork and just like function in high school when you're already dealing with so many other things. And then also just hearing a lot of the news stories about just how people have been treated, for sure.
Yeah, so my junior year of high school, I was an exchange student in Indonesia, and it's a country that's predominantly Muslim. And I come from a really small town in Wisconsin where the entire time growing up I had never met a Muslim person in my whole life. So a lot of people back home didn't really understand when I came back from Indonesia that my friends were Muslim and my host families were Muslim, and I got a lot of hate directed at me because of that, because they didn't understand the religion. And so I got like told to stay there and like become a terrorist. And when I was living in Indonesia, my host mom's sister, so my aunt, wore hijab, and she was getting ready in the morning and putting it on, and she looked to me and she said, like, are you scared of me? Like, do you think I'm a terrorist when I wear this? And so I think that's just a thought of Americans in general that has spread worldwide in regards to Islamophobia.
Do you think 9/11 has had an impact on anti-Islam?
I would say it definitely has. I also, though, was like 2 years old when it happened, so I really can't say, but like to me it seems like it has, yeah.
For sure. I think that Islamophobia, or just like the general and like non-knowledge of Islam, has been pretty prevalent. What a lot of people don't know is that this country was founded based on the principle of religious freedom, right? But that wasn't just religious freedom in terms of Christians. Thomas Jefferson himself owned the Quran, and so it was all built into the system. But a lot of people don't know that. There was a conversation with the founding fathers talking about how it was possible that Islam was going to come to America at some point, and that religious freedom was going to be for everybody and not just for Christians or not just for Jews or whoever else was coming in for religious freedom. And so I think that there's just a lot of lack of knowledge, kind of what I said about Islamophobia in general. So yeah, I think it definitely, when 9/11 happened, that was the moment where Islam was really put on the map. So I think before it was more like, oh yeah, it's this weird foreign thing nobody really understands. You might have had an Arab neighbor, but or any other type of Muslim. Muslims come from all over the world, but it really kind of was blown out of proportion and was really way worse after 9/11.
Definitely, 9/11 I think was the point where Islamophobia spread across the world and spread strongly, of course, especially in the United States. I mean, I wasn't there, I wasn't in the U.S. right after 9/11, but I came here a few years ago, and I could feel that every time I was here during that time, during that remembers time of the anniversary of 9/11, there's people who come up to me when they know that I'm Muslim and would talk to me or would throw their beliefs on me, which was really hurtful. So I definitely believe that had a huge impact, especially the media, after labeling a lot of these terrorists as Muslim, even though they choose to, but there should be no generalizations based on religion, based on the actions of people. So
I definitely think so. I think a common narrative that we have is that 9/11 was kind of the starting point, which is not true. Islam has always kind of been this other in the U.S., which isn't true because it's actually been here before the nation was founded. And so because of that reason, I think it has the stereotype of not being here, and it's like an immigrant religion. But honestly, there was a lot of tension even before 9/11, but I think it all just like went to hell and went so much worse when 9/11 happened. And I think after that point, a lot of people who hadn't maybe previously experienced it, it was a lot more prevalent in their lives.
How do you feel, or do you believe Trump's presidency has caused an uproar in racism against Muslims?
I think Trump's presidency, or his election in general, his whole election process, has really just kind of empowered people to be more discriminatory, and I mean that's not just towards Muslims, that's towards all types of people, being that people of color, people of different sexual orientations, people of anything that is considered different from whatever the norm is. So I think that just like the way that he was addressing different types of people, the way he was speaking, the way that he was portraying his own ideas, made other people feel like it was okay, because if the president or the candidate for presidency can say this, then why can't I? And I think a lot of people have been feeling that you know, the whole concept of political correctness is really silencing to freedom of speech and things like that. So it's been really kind of a complex problem that's been building up, and I think Trump was just kind of the face of an underlying problem.
I definitely think that Trump's election and presidency, kind of both going hand in hand, has helped bring folks out that maybe weren't as vocal about how Islamophobic they really are. It's not that it's created like a new wave of people that are just magically becoming Islamophobic, but the fact that he has said on record discriminatory things kind of helps makes it justifiable for other folks to express their own bigotry and hatred. So we see a lot of uproar with that, especially like around his Muslim ban that he instituted in January, and then a lot of the discussion of politics and policies that have happened since then.
I mean, I think Trump used the anger that Americans had towards Muslims to kind of gain their votes. He spoke so much about how he did not like Muslims, how he wanted to deport them, how he wanted to get America rid of them, and he used a lot of these stereotypes, misconceptions, anger, and fear to his benefit in order to spread and strengthen the rhetoric of Islamophobia in the U.S. in order to make people feel as if they're going to be safer when Trump holds office. So he definitely played that card, and he played on the psychology of a lot of people. And to me, that's sad because of what he's done, and that's sad that a lot of people still have these fears and angers based on mere stereotypes and have followed him for that. So
it definitely has. There's no question asked, and even in Colorado we can see that a lot by mosques being broken into, mosques being set on fire, and that could even be from Denver, which actually happened maybe like a month ago at this point, to Fort Collins. And so there's just a lot of hate going around, and I think people are really emboldened after Trump has said the things that he has said, and keeps doing the things that he's doing. So I very much do believe that after his election and presidency, that unfortunately that is a lot of things that a Muslim is concerned about, is that somebody walking down the street will possibly get hurt. That was terrible grammar, but possibly get hurt because of either they're wearing a hijab or maybe look Muslim. And so I definitely think it is prevalent after his election.
I definitely think so. I think when there's someone that has that much celebrity and they're such a big part of everyday news and talk that speaks so openly against a lot of different groups of people, that people just feel far more comfortable saying things that aren't okay. And so I definitely think with Trump being the president that there's been an uproar in Islamophobia. People feel that it's okay to say and do horrible things.
Hi, I'm Isaiah Gilbo.
And I'm Belfet Casa.
I'm Clonie Abdo.
And we did a project on Islamophobia, and we interviewed a couple of people and in their experience of being Islam. Yes.
By hearing these people's stories, we feel like it's connected us to our own lives and taught us a lot more than we thought we were going to learn.
Like listening to what these people are saying changed my perspective on how they see Islamophobia and like what they think it is or how they've experienced it too.
Society thinks that Islamophobia is just a bad, like such as a bad thing, but it's honestly, if you get to know people, they're not really what you really think they are.
We want to thank everyone who has helped us with this project. It's been really fun, and learning all these stories was really cool. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.